Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we last episode finished getting both of these guys onto the surface of the moon. They're landed at each pole, respectively, according to our viewer contract, and that was completed. So now we need to return these guys home. Remember, every Kerbinaut that we currently have right now is occupied here. Even the criminal Staney. Even Staney is here. So we need to get out of here before she decides to do something very, very silly indeed. We need to head home, and let's see. I would normally do a burn over to the 90-degree angle to get into an equatorial orbit. We are starting at the poles, so we're going to need to go. We're going to need to go at like 180 degrees, I think, or 360, one or the other. I'm not sure it really matters which. First, we're going to need some altitude. Yeah, we can go either way here since we're at the pole. And we would just want to push up our apoapsis height to probably... Do we want to flip back into an equatorial orbit? That would make it easier to return, but I don't think that's necessary. I think that we just get out of here. Let's get out of here. Let's just go. Beautiful. And up we go. We are just going to head straight up for the time being, because there's a lot of stuff around here, right? There's a lot of stuff. Why are we tilting off to the side like that? Can we not? Let's just turn SAS off and back on. Yeah, that seems to have fixed it. Cool. So we just want to get some altitude here. And we've got a bit of an oscillation, but it should be fine. So we just want to push up our apoapsis for now up to, I'm thinking probably somewhere around here. 10 kilometers should be fine. And now we're just going to head over on the 180-degree heading. And we're going to burn here and get ourselves some horizontal speed, but it's like polar horizontal speed, right? So, yeah, we're heading out this direction. It kind of doesn't matter which way we go, to be honest. Equatorial would certainly make things easier, but I think this is fine. So we're just going to be on this 180-degree heading. I mean, we could, now that I think about it. Okay, that's moving it that way. I wanted to move it the other direction. I want horizontal speed here, and I guess we do want the 90-degree heading. Okay. And why do we want the 90-degree heading? Because I want this to be, like, perpendicular to the orbit here, right? So that we pass near to Kerbin, is the idea here. So we really want this to be, I think, on the 135 marker. If I'm reading what I'm seeing here correctly. Luke, EVA, grab that. Hop back in. Cool. And now we're just chilling here. We can see that our apoapsis height is not amazing. We're going to reach the apoapsis pretty soon here. So we need to get a little bit of extra altitude. We'll do that. And we'll push this up to, I don't know, maybe like 30 kilometers. Polar lowlands. Oh, we missed it. Hop back in. We'll see if we get the polar lowlands again. It was very brief there. Okay. Got it. Cool. So that's good. I want to check in here. Yeah, that's looking approximately correct. So the 135-degree heading looks good. So for now, time to apoapsis is increasing. Again, we're not trying to bring these back. We ditched the heat shields on there. We probably could have, in retrospect. But this seems reasonably fine. And we're just going to target like 100 kilometers is okay. So we'll shut that down, and our apoapsis is right over here. So we will add a maneuver here, and that will be circularization. Cool. That should do for now. And we're just going to park in orbit, and then we're going to get the other one going as well. Oh, we have no electric charge. That's slightly awkward. Slightly awkward indeed. Right, because we're currently facing away from the sun. As we go around, that will fix. I think. But I have another fix for it. Staney is going to EVA here. And we're going to do this. Problem solved. Okay, now we have some power. And we'll turn. And we're out of power now. But we should be okay as we get into position here. Yep. Now we've got plenty of power. Beautiful. Thank you for that, Staney. Your criminal past is coming in handy now. Cool. So we're just going to warp on around here. And once we are in position for this burn, we'll get circularized, and then we'll get the other guys coming the same way. Now that we know that we want this heading to be... Well, ultimately, this heading does change to 180. We'll just eyeball it when we get there, like we did. Cool. So we've got about 30 seconds on this burn here. We know that this is going to be a pro-grade burn, and the burn is now. Excellent. And that'll do. So now we'll switch over to this guy. Not set as target. We'll switch to the other Moonlander, and we'll get them into a similar orbit. And then we'll just get our return paths plotted. Should be easy enough. In theory. Okay. So we're going to lift off here. SAS on. Throttle on up. Beautiful. We'll retract our landing legs. And we are out of here. So, we need to go this same direction, ideally. So this, I'm thinking, might be 315 degrees. We'll see how that feels. We'll head out over this direction for the time being and park at the 45-degree marker. It's going this way. Okay, so no. 90 degree? And yeah, we're going to need to burn a little higher than this. Yeah, actually 90 degree. Ish. It's actually 135. I think. No? No. It's 45. Okay. Well, at least we finally figured it out. We only burned a little bit of extra fuel there. Good thing we have plenty. No problem whatsoever there. Are we going to have any science popping up here? Maybe. So we now know that the 45-degree header is what we're looking for, approximately. It should be close enough. We don't need to be on the exact same orbit, after all. And we're pushing for an apoapsis height, again, of about 100 kilometers. So I'm just going to angle to the horizon at this point. I think we have enough altitude. Maybe. That is a hard maybe on that one. Yeah, looks good. Looks absolutely good. We have this rotating underneath us because we're so close to the pole, which I think is literally right there. So we were a little bit off of the pole, but I'm pretty sure that is where the pole actually is, technically. Polar lowlands. Fantastic. And we'll park right on that 45-degree marker. It's a little bit off, isn't it? Well, we need to pull it up like this direction. Actually, no. We need to pull it this direction. Cool. That seems reasonably fine. So I think we need to be at the north marker here. Should be okay. We're going retrograde from what the other one is, but I think that's fine. There isn't actually a problem with that. So we're going to park over at the north marker now. That looks good. Ish. Good enough. It looks good enough. So we're at about 40 kilometers right now. 50. And continuing to accelerate. 60. 70. 80. 90. 100. Cool. We'll call that good. And at this apoapsis, we are, of course, going to circularize. It's close enough. So something along the lines of this, just getting ourselves into a stable-ish orbit. And yeah, we can see we're a little bit off on the inclination, but that's fine. We're not trying to directly target that inclination. So we'll get turned around for this. That should expose our solar panels to sunlight, so we don't have that problem again. Yep, looks good. And let's warp. Beautiful. I think I missed some science there, but it doesn't really matter that much. We're going to get a lot of science out of this. I think that's very, very clear. Okay. So we're going to continue to warp forward. This is, of course, going to be a pure prograde burn, and I've actually overshot slightly, but that's fine. All we're looking to do is get into orbit here. That'll do. And from here, we want to try to set ourselves up. Actually, we should switch to the Moonlander right now, this Moonlander. It's in basically the position for a burn at this moment. So, we want to burn around here and see what this actually ends up getting us. Okay, so this isn't exactly what we're looking for. We're going to need to get for a different burn then. This one is not going to do with a polar orbit. I wasn't 100% certain about that, but now we know. Okay, so. Yeah, that's just mostly an inclination change there. Indeed. I mean, we can make ourselves equatorial if we really wanted to. We do have the delta V to do it. And that would make things... If I could get rid of this. The button is not letting me click it. Okay, there we go. So we could definitely make it equatorial. That would make things a lot easier. I'm much more used to returning from an equatorial orbit, but I kind of want to figure out what it would feel like if we did some of these burns, right? Is this about what we're looking for? I mean, not exactly. Okay. Not exactly at all. Way easier to return from an equatorial. Okay, noted. So if we were to come around over here, what would it feel like? Wacky is the answer. Not shocked about that. But, I mean, we could just do this. It's completely fine. We have enough delta V, right? So we can escape this at any point that we want to. And it would be completely fine. So all we would need to do here is burn sometime around here, get an escape, like this. That throws us out into a somewhat wide orbit. Drop it down something like this. It's quasi-equatorial at that point. And then at this apoapsis, drop it down and then do a radial retrograde. It's completely viable, not the maximum efficiency. I'm not sure what the maximum efficiency return from a polar orbit is. So, I mean, that's definitely interesting. This is not letting me warp. Oh, it's because it's too close. Right. That would be the case. So we'll just warp forward a tiny bit here. 3, 2, 1, and mark. Cool. We'll have plenty of delta V to return with this. It's not a big deal. So we'll just make our way out of here, and then we'll switch over to the other one and do a very similar burn, although maybe on this side, returning oppositely. Cool. So how much more burn time do we have in this? About a minute in the side tanks? Okay, that should be more than enough. So just bringing this on down, and that'll do the trick right there. And then, of course, our next move is at the apoapsis, which we're going to reach first. We add the maneuver here to bring this guy right on down. To be something along the lines of this, targeting about 40 kilometers here. And then we do a radial retrograde burn on the way in. That would be the idea. We'd have plenty of delta V for that, and that looks good. So now we're going to swap over to this guy. And we'll see where we are in this orbit. Okay, so around here, we would do a prograde burn, pushing out this direction. And that puts us in a slightly better position. Sure. No, this looks fine. I think we do this. Yeah, that's okay. So we would position for that burn. And we'll warp on over. This is apparently not actually escaping. Hang on. Why are you not escaping? It recalculated this, I guess? No, it's fine. Okay, it's fine. It's just not showing up properly when we don't have it selected. I think. So we're going to position here for a prograde burn. And we're going to warp forward a little bit. 3, 2, 1, 0. And let's burn. Cool. So we're going to push on out of here. And we'll just get ourselves an old-fashioned return. Nothing fancy here. Excellent. I like how we're just going opposite directions and getting nearly the same result. Not exactly the same, of course, but nearly the same result. Okay. We'll call that good enough. So this escape is going to be in 4 hours, and this one is going to be when? Let's switch over here and see. We probably want to, when they load in, have them in the correct area. So this is going to be in 1 hour. So we should probably warp to about here. Magnificent. And we're just going to bring these back largely simultaneously. Okay, so here we go, loading into the Kerbin sphere of influence. Now we're going to swap to this, and we'll load into that sphere of influence. You can do it, KSP. I have faith. Okay. So we need to warp to around here. And of course, once we get to this apoapsis, we want to add a maneuver. And we drop this down again to about 40 kilometers. Now that's not super low, but we want it to be a radial retrograde burn, right? So we'll adjust that on the way in. Cool. Something about like that. So we now want to warp to here. That's going to be in 2 hours. This is on a much wider orbit, so that'll give us time to work on this. We should be completely fine on that front. So here we go, loading into the Kerbin sphere of influence. So we should have this burn long before this one. Let's go ahead and warp for it. Beautiful. So we are now going to position for the burn. This is a retrograde burn. And we'll warp forward slightly further. Overshot it a little bit, but that's fine. And we'll bring this right on down. So we just want to get this periapsis down to approximately 40 kilometers. It doesn't actually matter where that is. And then we'll have to do the landings, of course. They should be staggered apart far enough that we can do that fairly easily, in theory. We'll see how that ends up going. But we do have a fair amount more delta V to burn out here. No doubt about that one. But we're still heading towards this apoapsis here. So we'll bring this on down. About 100 more meters per second to go here. Wonderful. And it definitely looks like Valentina, Bill, and Bob are going to be back long before the others. That's fine. In fact, that's kind of ideal. 300 kilometers, 200, 100, and throttling down a bit. Targeting 40 here. Good enough. So that'll do. And now we want to put in, let's see here, 5 hours 40, 546. We want to put in a timer somewhere around here. So we're going to add a maneuver there. That is in 5 hours 39 minutes. Now we're going to swap over to here. And we'll see when this burn is. 1 day, 3 hours. Okay. Remember, a day is 6 hours. So this is a day and a half here. And we should have plenty of time to actually fully land this moonlander before we even arrive at this apoapsis point. So we're going to switch back to the moonlander, and once we get here, we're going to set up our radial retrograde burn. We'll focus Kerbin, and we are going to do a radial burn here, or rather a retrograde burn here, and we're going to target about 20 kilometers for this. But I do want to move it up over this direction. And we'll just bring that right on around. We know that we have a lot of meters per second here, right? So I want to bring this down to around here. We'll continue to retrograde it. And then radial that around a little bit more to be something kind of like this. That's a little bit off in terms of the altitude. So we're going to need to do something kind of like that-ish. That's pretty close. Yeah, that'll do right there. I like this. So that's a good re-entry there, and we'll align for that. That's going to be in 5 hours and 39 minutes. We'll have like 3 hours to do our landing here before we need to do our burn on our other craft, and even if we miss that, it's not the end of the world. So that should be absolutely fine. We'll position for this, and let's head on over to Kerbin. Goodbye, moon. Here we come, Kerbin. So we're just going to slowly accelerate as we fall in towards Kerbin. We're going to have to burn off a good amount of this speed, and we're going to ditch these tanks extraordinarily early in this. We'll have like 0 seconds worth of burn in this tank. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to warp forward a little bit longer here. This does have... Okay, we loaded in there. This does have a little bit of fuel, right? Right. Okay, so we're warping in a little further. 10 seconds remain, and now 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. We should be burned out on these tanks now, and we're going to ditch those. Fantastic. They'll burn up in the atmosphere, no problem whatsoever there. And we'll just slow this right on down. Beautiful. So this re-entry shouldn't be a very big deal. We are going to do this radial retrograde burn, and we'll have a little bit of fuel left in this. We don't really want to land on this, though, that's for sure, and I guess we can close these doors. It doesn't actually have any effect, but it's fine. So at this point, I'm going to physics warp forward a bit as we continue this burn. We're going to be entering the atmosphere shortly. Now. Cool. And that, of course, means that we want to make our way over towards the retrograde marker. I don't care about this anymore. And we're just going to continue to slow down and burn out all of our remaining fuel. Now we ditch that, and we come in with just our capsule. Beautiful. We can see we're accelerating right now. That's not shocking. And we'll start to slow down as the atmosphere thickens up a bit. Our periapsis height is already negative, but we're not going all that fast. It should be okay. There's still a lot of air between us and the ground. And there we go. Now we're starting to slow down. I like it. Let's go into surface velocity mode. Yeah, we're already at 1900 meters per second. This is looking good. $1,700. I'm coming out of physics warp here because we were seeing some parts cooking off there because we were not quite able to hold attitude. So no more physics warp for the time being. 1.3 kilometers per second. Looking good. 1.2. 1.1. We are now under a kilometer per second. Drogue shoots shortly. 800 meters per second. Drogues out. 600 meters per second. 500. 400. Mains out. And let's physics warp. Cool. So it looks like we're going to get a splash down here. That's absolutely fine. No problem whatsoever. We can see where we're going to hit. Thanks, KER. 130 meters per second right now. Shoots deploying. Main chutes deploying. And about 7 meters per second. Beautiful. So it'll take us a little bit of time to float down to the surface. We're, of course, still in physics warp here. And we'll get this recovered. And then we'll get our other one done. I'm planning on having that still this episode. It might be a little bit of a long episode. We'll see. That's okay. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. And here we go. Splashdown. Beautiful. So we'll recover our vessel. And how much science are we going to get out of this one? Well, this is going to be the majority of the science. A lot of the science that we're going to get from the other one is actually duplicated because they were both in the poles biome, which is slightly sad, but not the end of the world. That's what the contract asked for, so that's fine. So we'll get this recovered, find out how much science we get, and then we'll swap over and bring back the other capsule real quick. It should be still coasting with a few hours left on its coast, in theory. So that'll be fine. Yeah, 500 science out of that one. The next one will be a lot less science, to be clear. A lot less science. Let's hop into the tracking station. And let's grab our moon orbiter. Beautiful. So next, we're going to do our braking burn up here at the apoapsis to bring us down to the atmosphere. We're going to do the exact same technique. So that'll be fine. We're not quite in position here, but we can see, yep, about 4 hours until our burn. So that's looking good. They were staggered nicely. I like it. I was a little concerned about bringing these back simultaneously, and then I was like, but I can probably just do this, right? And yeah, that's exactly what I could do. So that's great. We're going to warp forward a little further here. It doesn't actually matter exactly when we do this, but this is fine. 3, 2, 1, and mark. Cool. It's about a 40-second burn here, so we'll physics warp it a little bit. After all, we are, we can't actually do this. We have no control right now. Actually, just pilot control. Cool. Just watching our periapsis here. Once again, targeting about 40 kilometers. That'll do. Cool. And this time we don't have to worry about the timings. So as we come in here, we can do a burn sometime around here. I'm not sure if this is going to be the exact altitude that we want to do this at. I want to pin that guy open. And once again, we want to target about 20 kilometers. What is this altitude? Oh, this is too low. So we need to move this back a bit. Oh, that's spicy. Okay, we've definitely overshot this a bit on the retrograde, I think. Okay, there we go. So we want to target about 20 kilometers, and we'll just continue doing something along the lines of this. That's looking decent as far as the altitude goes. We'll need to change the timing back this way slightly. But no, that looks good. Okay, so that will get us in a very, very solid position there. We don't have power, do we? We don't have power. So I'm going to have Staney EVA again, and we're going to grab this one this time. And we'll just position that right there. Cool. Now we have power. It's very awkward. We're going to be able to have our extendable solar panels after this, so that's not going to be a problem in the future. But we can definitely position here. Ish. There we go. And let's warp. So here we go. We are falling into Kerbin. And we will commence this burn in about a minute. 40 seconds. Loading in Kerbin here. 30 seconds. 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. We've got a little bit more delta V in these side tanks this time. Not a lot more. It's a similar amount, but it is definitely a little bit more. We'll detach our side tanks now. And we're continuing to slow down here. Beautiful. So as we did before, as we come in here, we're going to transition over to retrograde once we hit the atmosphere. And we'll just burn it out. It's exactly the same technique that we used for the last re-entry. It'll be no big deal there. Although, with these guys down here, these solar panels might get burnt off this time. We'll see. We'll see if that ends up happening. So our current altitude is 84 kilometers. It's looking good. Let's physics warp a bit here. This is a pretty long burn, so let's just bring that on down. We're going to be entering the atmosphere very shortly. 2 kilometers away from it. 1 kilometer. We're barely going down right now. Okay. That's kind of exciting. We're going to hop over to retrograde here. Yeah, we're basically at the apoapsis right now. We've moved our apoapsis to be right here. That's what happened there. So I'm going to warp here until we hit the atmosphere, which is now. We killed basically all of our vertical speed there. It's fine. And now we're going to work on additional horizontal speed. Just burning out this last little bit of fuel here. And we're coming in at almost exactly the same speed. Yeah, that'll be absolutely fine. We detach that, and let's warp. We may end up losing these solar panels. That'll be interesting to find out if we do. If we do, it's not the end of the world. Absolutely not. And we are, of course, below orbital velocity right now. Looks like we're going to be coming down on land this time. I didn't make any effort to differentiate between land and sea landings, but yes, we are definitely going to be landing on sea here, or rather on land, and in the dark side, which is interesting. We'll see how YouTube likes that. The compression generally doesn't like dark things, but we'll see. So we're picking up our plasma sheath at this point. I wouldn't be shocked if we lose these photovoltaic panels. I probably should have moved them back, to be honest, but it's fine. We're going to come out of physics warp here and move to surface mode. Cool. Now that we've got the full plasma sheath going, I'm just going to not be in warp at this moment. Actually, it's probably fine for right now. Okay, now we want to get rid of it. There we go. We did get a little bit of extra time out of that. So we're currently moving at about 1.5 kilometers per second. We're flying high over the deserts right now. This is a mountains biome, so we have a little bit less space than normal, but I think we might bypass it here. That said, we're losing a lot of our vertical speed. Or rather, our horizontal speed. So I think we are actually going to be landing in the highlands. This is not mountains, this is highlands. Okay, that's fine. Drogues are going to be going out shortly. We might bypass this, but I'd be a little surprised. We can grab a crew report and a temperature scan here. Sure, why not? Mains are available now. And we'll just slow down a little bit here. Cool. I want to go to radar altitude. 6 kilometers up. 5, 4, 3. Drogues deploying now. And there's a bit of our tanks blowing up a bit. That's absolutely fine, of course. And there we go, our mains deploy. Now I want to have Luke hop out and grab an EVA report. We don't have any science from here, so that's great. And we'll grab that. That'll get us a little bit of extra science anyway. And we'll head on down to the surface. Very, very slowly. Hooray for physics warp, right? No doubt about that. So we're about 200 meters up right now. This is a relatively flat area, surprisingly, so we're probably not going to roll too much. And here we come. Boom. So I think we lost our heat shield there. That's fine. I'm not concerned about that. We'll grab any of our data that we can here. We'll have Luke EVA, grab our EVA report, our surface sample, and we will hop back in. There we go. And actually, we don't need to hide the results window. I want to recover this vessel, and we'll see how much science we got, but I'm not expecting this to be anywhere near as much as the last one, to be clear. It's going to be maybe a couple hundred at best. It's probably going to be a lot worse than that. I'm expecting like maybe 100. We'll see. What do you got, KSB? Anytime now. You can do it. 46. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's kind of what I expected since we were in the same biome. So, cool. There is that contract complete. We can hop into the mission control here. There's an explore Minmus, so just orbit Minmus. Sure. Exploration missions we're allowed to take. But beyond that, we're going to have to find ourselves another viewer contract to work on. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, James, Shadow Wolf, Mlohan80, Rogue Corvid, Kentogan, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Anna the Elephant, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.